Welcome friends to my channel. In my continued discussions in this series also, I will discuss the topographic elevation of 8 those villages, border villages of Mizoram of India, which are sharing international borderlines with Myanmar. So for my previous discussions and previous episodes, please follow the links at my description box. You can get details of the geography and their descriptive history, why you are discussing on these topics and how the geography is distributed into these areas. Our main focus is to concentrate on the border villages, and in this episode we will be discussing with the border villages of Mizoram, and that's 8 villages had been discussed so far, and that those 8 villages, their geography had been discussed, their history has been discussed, and in this episode I will be discussing the topographic height elevation. It is very important for strategic planning, for military surveillance, for international migration of laborers, for international migration of immigrants, international migration of like different smuggling to contain it across the border. So we need a total thorough idea of how their topographic elevation is varying into these border villages. So we have started it with 8 villages of Mizoram, and we will continue to discuss it in this series. Now look, this is actually this brown area in this picture is the area is belonging to Myanmar, and this particular area is belonging a segment of the entire Myanmar sharing international border with India. The name of its areas is Paletoa under Mindat under Chin, and we can show you the name of its areas, and you can see that Paletoa under Mindat under Chin. The Paletoa is a specific zone under sub-district Mindat under the district Chin. Chin has, the name of Chin has come into surface in the recent period as in Myanmar after the military coup. The different sectionist forces has been fighting against the military government, and some sectionist forces have taken shelter into these Chin areas. So Chin has come into surface. The name of Chin has come into surface in a very recent period in the politics of Myanmar. And then we are discussing the Indian border villages in step by step. 8 border villages which are sharing international border with this Paletoa region of Chin. So we'll conclude that with this topographic discussion. So here also we'll discuss 8 border villages. Their names have already been discussed, and in course of discussions we'll again repeat it. But let's see how the international border looks like. I mean, this is the area, brown area is Paletoa. Against it, the first Indian village is Simansora. Now you can see that Simansora village is this, and a little before you can see yes, now you can see that Simansora is actually 10.029 square kilometer of area, and it is the last border village. It is the last border village or first border village, whatever you call it, on Indian side, sharing international border with Myanmar. And if you look at it, on your left side is the Bangladesh, and on your right side the brown area is actually Myanmar, and India's village borders are bordered in blue colors, and you can see it is in the blue colors borderlines. So you can see the last or first village from the side of Bangladesh is Simoneshwara. It is 10.029 square kilometer of area. Now you see it's little blown up, and you can get very close to it, and you can get you see. Now one thing I tell you, that this Simoneshwara, this blue line is actually the village boundary as well as the international border with Myanmar, because this is the last village or first village, whatever you call it, on this side. Now the brown line is actually the area of, as I said, it is Paleto of Myanmar. Now this region, the drawing has come inside of Indian region, and it is often intentional that every country around the world, you can see that they make their drawings well inside of neighboring countries to claim that that area is also belonging to them. But actually this is a wrong drawing, because Simoneshwara is definitely a village belonging to India, no doubt about it. So question is whether this brown line is right or wrong. We will say it's wrong, because this area, whatever is come inside, is a wrong drawing. Last India's border village is Simoneshwara. So we have continuously keep this brown area on and off in this region to show you that this has come inside an Indian territory. Yes, it's off and then on. You can see that this blue line is the Indian last border. But one more thing I'll tell you, that you can see that the figures like 800, 600, 400, these are indicating the green contour lines. Actually the contour lines are the lines which are iso contour line. This is actually the iso height. That means if you traverse along these contour lines, everywhere on the same contour line you will get equal height of that figure, which is indicated by that contour lines. Like whenever you see 800 on a contour line, that means if you traverse along this contour line anywhere, all over that area, you will get 800 meters high. Similarly 400, similarly 600. So you get contour lines. You can see that how the contour lines are distributed over here. And for Simoneshwara also, you can see that the village, but you can visibly see that this is the high area. This is a high area at 3 junction point. This is a high area at 3 junction point, and this 3 junction point is actually, you can see that 3 country meeting point here is like 3 country point. 3 country point is actually a meeting point of Bangladesh. I mean, it is the end point of Bangladesh, India as well as Myanmar. So 3 country meeting point is there, and from there you can see that the slope is coming down. Slope is coming down, and as we have drawn the contour lines, is you can get the highest contour line at this slope for Simoneshwara village is 800 meters. 800 meters. So let me write it, that contour elevation, the highest point at this is not 885, it's 800. Just let me correct it. Now we will see the highest contour lines passing through this high slope area, and this is 800 meters, right? And we will pin it up so that you can understand that this point, this area is 800 meters. Okay, now actual height is above that 800 meters, because that peak at this point is little higher than 800. So we'll try to see that what actually the three country meeting point is, what actual height of that area is. But before that, I will show you that this Simoneshwara village, which is 10.029 square kilometer of area, has an average, as you can see, that 400, 400, 200, 600. So nowhere into this village you can see 800 only, except the three country meeting point, which is at the starting point of the village. So we will try to find actual what height that area is. So we'll draw a white line, white polyline, and we'll try to see the elevation profile in accordance of the white line drawn. You can see that it is a white line we have been drawing. White line we are drawing from the top of the crest and down to the slope, to see that how the elevation is changing according to the white lines from up to down. And you can see the elevation profile is given in the below panel, and you can see a red arrow which is also showing the exact height of that, according to the white line it is passing through. Along the white line it is moving, and it is showing what exactly the actual height it is. And you can see the highest height, it is 857. That is at the starting point, and that is near the highest three country point, that is near the three country meeting point. So that is there, it is the highest point of the village. So we are putting a pin on it with 857 meter height. Now our purpose is to draw, yes, this is, though we are writing it contour elevation height, as because actually this is by interpolation method of the contour lines we are getting the actual height. So it is the highest point, and we call it the contour elevation height is 857 meter at this pin, at this point. Now our purpose is to see that if we build a watchtower or a camera management point at this position, like a long distance surveillance camera, military grade surveillance camera, can reach up to 3.5 kilometers, though it is not often possible because of cloudy weather or something like. But ideally we can call it a 3.5 kilometer distance radius. It can keep within its ambit of surveillance. So if we draw a 3.5 kilometer radius of circle, then we like to see how much it is covering in India, or in the Bangladesh side, or in the Myanmar side. So next our target is to create a 3.5 millimeter radius circle at this highest point. The center of it is at this highest point. So let's draw it. So you can see that the brown area is actually the border lines, and this border village is which is being discussed currently is Simoneshwara, and next to it is Banduk Banga, that will be discussed immediately after it. Now we are drawing at the highest point, which is 857 meter high. We are drawing a circle of radius 3.5 kilometers at this position. Yes. Now this 3.5 kilometer radius, of circle with radius 3.5 kilometers, as we will see that how much it covers in Indian side, in the Bangladesh side, as well as whether it covers the international borders, that all it will be discussed. And look here, yes, now you can see that it is a 3.5 kilometer radius, and Simoneshwara village with 3.5 kilometer radius at highest point. The highest point is 857, as we have seen, 857 meters high. So from there it can covers almost, as we can see, that 1/4 of the circle area. 1/4 of the circle area is covering Myanmar side, and almost 50% of this area is covering in the Bangladesh side, and remaining 1/4 area it is covering inside India. So if we can install one military grade surveillance camera at this position, it can manage well the international borders at this village. At this village it can manage well the international borders and can cover up to 50% on the side of Bangladesh, 1/4 side of the 1/4 of its, I mean that 25% of the area under this circle is covering in Myanmar side, and rest 25% it is covering inside India. So it's a good coverage at this point. So strategically this point is very important. Well, now one thing is to be said, that as the circle is drawn, one thing is to be said, that as the circle is drawn on the Myanmar side, just in front of this Simoneshwara village, the average height is 200, 200, 400, 200, except on the Bangladesh side it is 800. So from if you install the camera at 857 meters high, so it can well cover in deep inside of Myanmar. So the Myanmar side is well within ambit of surveillance by the camera installed at this top most point. Okay, now next we go, next to Simoneshwara, we go to the next village is Banduk Banga. This Banduk Banga village is you can see it's this Banduk Banga village is 18.206 square kilometer of area. This Banduk Banga is 18.206 square kilometer, 208 square kilometer of area. Sorry, 208 square kilometer of area, 18.208 square kilometer, and you can see on an average, everywhere the contour height is 200, 200, 200. So it's not above 200 in most of the cases. In most of the cases, it is not above 200. So and even on the Myanmar side also facing this village, their height is also in the same range. We'll show it. The Banduk Banga village, and still we want to see, we have drawn a white line along the crest, I mean that's along the ridge line of the mountain, to see that the average height is 200, but what is the highest point in the village. So we need to see, for that we have drawn a white line, and we want to see the elevation profile according to this white line. So let's see what the elevation profile is showing along the white line. This is the ridge line, I mean this is a top crest point of a mountain. Yes, now below you can see the elevation profile of the village according to the white line. Actually, if you move along the white line, you just see that the red arrow is moving along the white line, and it is showing the elevation at that point in the lower panel. So you just see, as the red arrow is moving, it is showing you the elevation at that point. Wherever the red arrow is moving, the elevation it is showing at that point. Now the highest point it is shown. We can show you a little once again. You can see that as it is moving, the highest elevation point is 255 meters, 256 meters, 256 meters, 255 or 256, something like that. Highest elevation point, as you can see, is a 255 or 256 meters. So that is the rate point is showing that. You can see that the highest elevation point, it is 255 or 256 meters, like here. So at this point we can put a pin to indicate that is the highest point within the village, and there again we'll create a circle of radius 3.5 kilometer to see how much it is covering the borderlines, the neighboring countries, as well as inside India. We are putting the pin at site. We are putting 256 meters high. Okay, that is 256 meters high. And now we will create a circle at this point. Yes, we are creating. We have created the circle, and you can see that the entire circle is 3/4 of the area of the circle is covering in the neighboring states. 3/4 of the area is covered in the neighboring states, and 1/4 of the area is inside India, and including the borderlines. So it is a good coverage for Banduk Banga. Fine. Now, in front of this Banduk Banga village, on the Myanmar side also, its average height is 200. It's at par with Indian village. It's particularly Banduk Banga, because Banduk Banga has also average height of 200. Here also an average height of, in Myanmar side, it's also 200. Now next we will go to next village. Next village is Parva 3. Next village is Parva 3. Parva 3 village is actually (15.932 square kilometer of area, and its average height is seen that 200 everywhere. So and in front of it's also 200 in the Myanmar side, so they are at par. So to get its specific height, we again draw a white line, and to see the elevation profile of the white line. Why we are putting the white line at a particular space? Because we are trying to find out some hill areas, and we are drawing a white line according to the ridge lines. So the ridge lines will show the exact perfect height, and as you can see that as the red arrow is moving according to the white lines, as the red arrow is moving, it is showing the elevation height at this lower panel, and you can see the highest height of 270. So though average height is 200, but 270 is the highest point, and that is the red point. As we are putting a pin into it, the red point we are showing. So again from there we are trying to create a 3.5 meter radius, 3.5 kilometer radius from the highest point of 276, and here we will Now you can see the Parva 3 village at the highest point of 276, as we have seen. From there we have created a circle of 3.5 meter radius, 5 kilometer radius, to see that almost 50-50. That 50% of the circle area is covering the neighboring states, including the borderline, and 50% of the area is covering inside India. So it is also a good coverage. 50% is just covering inside India, and 50% of the area it is covering in the neighboring states. And on either side of the borderline, international borderlines, average height is 200. So it's at par. I mean, the height is at par with Indian side and the Myanmar side. So it can be considered as a good coverage. Next we go to the next village is Tuichalang. Tuichalang is a big village. You can see that this is bigger than previous such border villages, Indian border villages. And Tuichalang, just a minute. Tuichalang village is 57.165 square kilometer area. 57.165 square kilometer of areas. We have discussed those other villages which are not that much big so far, but this village is bigger than the previous ones. So we are seeing that Tuichalang has an average height of 400, 200. You can see that 200, 200, 200, and as we are moving towards the right hand side, it's 400. But there is a mountain on the right hand side, so we have drawn a white line as usual along the ridge lines of the mountains, and we see that how the elevation according to the red arrow it is changing, and we can get the 426 is the high, 425 or 26 meters is the highest point. 426 or the 25 is the highest point. So that is at the starting of the red arrow. So we put a pin up there to indicate that is the highest point in the village. And we create a circle of 3.5 kilometer radius to see how much it covers. As you can see that from the imagery, the ridge lines of the mountain is clear here, and we have drawn white lines over it. Now the highest point is the pinpoint. Now from there we are drawing a circle. So the elevation is 422 meters, 422, sorry, not 426, whatever you have said is wrong. 422 meters, the highest point, 422 meters at this highest point. So we are drawing a circle from there, and we see that how much the circle area is covering, whether it's covering the borderlines or covering the neighboring countries also. We just like to see it. Now as the circle is drawn, 3.5 kilometer radius, you can see that the area, actually this circle is not covering any part of the neighboring country. not even the borderlines, not even the Indian Myanmar borderlines. It is actually covering inside India, and so from there, as I said before, that a single camera cannot solve the problem. Obviously, a constellation of camera according to the height, like a constellation of the cameras can solve the problem. It is not a job of a single camera which can cover the entire village or the borderlines or even the neighboring territory or enemy's territory. But a constellation of such cameras can do it accordingly. So here in the Tuichenlang village, as we have seen, that the highest point is lying much deeper inside of Indian territory, so it cannot cover the borderlines. Neither it covers the borderlines nor it covers the enemy territory or the neighboring territory, but only inside India it covers a lot. Next is Jochachua, 31.365 square kilometer of area, 31.365 square kilometer of area, and this village is all the same because it is nothing different than Tuichenlang, because Tuichenlang highest point is adjacent to its highest point, so both have the same almost same topography. So and as you can see that its average height is 400 at the top point and then 200 down the hill, and it's on the Myanmar side also. In the Myanmar side the average height is all the same, but still we'll find that along the ridge line we have drawn a straight line, white straight line, as to see the elevation profile according to the white line as we have drawn. Now we can see the elevation profile is showing the highest line is 476 meters, 476 meters, and you can see that is at the beginning of the red arrow, that is .476 meters high, which is at the beginning of the red arrow. So from there, if we draw, as it is lying just side of the Tuichenlang, so it is also covering that almost same as Tuichenlang. So we are not repeating the same thing. Next we are going to the next village. .476 meters is the highest point at this position. So from Jochachua we are going to next, and as we are moving to the next, we see that it is little bit wilder. The topography is more undulated. Next to it is Sabualtlang village. This Sabualtlang village is, as you can see, that the height area is differing. It's mostly 600, 400 down the hills, 200 there, and it's 400 and 600. So in the 600 there is a mountain, so we have drawn a white line up there, and to see that how the elevation profile is differing on the white lines. According to that, we see that highest point is 685 or something. Sabualtlang is 39.446 square kilometer of area, 39.446 square kilometer of area, and I think it's 685 or something. You will show it. 685, I believe, is the highest point at this area. 685, 665, I just can't see it. let's see what is the exact height at this position. But it's above 600 because it is above 600 control lines, 600 meters. But one thing is to be remind you that as the fluctuation is quite high and low, 200 down to 200 to from the base to 200, then 400, then 600, again then coming down to 200. It is really difficult for any security force to patrol to these areas. It is topographically impossible. 665, yes, 665 meter at this Worldlang village at this point. Now, as I was saying that that it's really difficult for any security force to patrol to this area. First of all, it is geographically difficult because the area is dense forest, thick vegetation, and nothing can be seen through. In the during day, the light cannot move inside the forest, and full of wild beasts. So that is geographically it's impossible. Not impossible, I will say that is very difficult. Secondly, topographically is also impossible because the fluctuation is so wild that traversing through these areas on regular basis is really difficult for any border security force. So only the hill tribes can cross this area as it is their own habitation. They can do it. So for security forces, only the camera management and surveillance towers can solve the problem. Now next, see Worldlang village. As we had been discussing, we have a little in the Worldlang village. At the height of 665, we have drawn a circle of 3.5 kilometer radius. So let's see how much it covers. In the Worldlang village, we can say the area is it's not covering the borderlines as 3.5 kilometers showing. It's not covering the borderlines, nor it's covering any enemy territory or neighboring country's territory. So what it covers inside India. So again the problem and again the conclusion is same, that not a single camera can manage the entire borders or the cross-border areas. A constellation of camera management can solve the problem. So this is our conclusion up to this. Then next go to next village. Next we are going to Thangalau village. Thangalau is a big village. It is 176.251 square kilometer. So Thangalang is 176.251 square kilometer of area. Thangalang is highly undulated and it is also a border village of Myanmar on Myanmar and Indian side. It is on the border village on Indian side, bordering with Myanmar. Thangalang. And as you can see that 400, 400, 600, a lot of 400s and 600 control lines are there. But there is also 800. So it has wild fluctuations from 200 to 800 and above. So we will try to see where exactly the highest point lies. So highest point must be lying above 800, or at least at the 800. So it is 800 contour lines. So there must be this hill, and as the image is not very clear at this so we are getting back to from 2001 to 2021 to we are going back to 2017, so the image becomes clear. We go little back and you can see that is imagery dates back to 2017. It becomes little more clear because the current image is not very clear. Now it's becoming clear, yes, and you can see it's going back to 2017, something like that. But whatever it is, it's imagery. It will show a clear imagery up to that period. Yes, now it's becoming clear. Now we are drawing a white line, as we have seen that 800 contour lines. So we are drawing white lines to see the elevation profile according to this white line. So here we see the highest is 874, and as you can see that as the red arrow is moving, the height is also changing, the elevation is changing, but highest point is showing 874, and that is at the beginning, not beginning, right now, yes, 874, 873, 872, 802, 756. Now we see 874 is the point where we are getting the highest elevation. Yes, 874, and that is at this point. So we'll consider the highest point and try to 874. We try to create a circle of 3.5 kilometer radius centering this highest point to see how much it covers within the circle. Circle of radius 3.5 kilometers. From there we are creating a circle of 3.5 kilometer radius circle, and below we can see the profile of elevations according to the white line drawn. Now we'll create, yes, now we are trying to create one 3.5 kilometer radius circle. Now you see the circle look like this, Thangalang village with 3.5 kilometer radius at highest point, and that is covering mostly inside. It's not covering the borderline. It's not covering the borderline. It's far away from borderline, and it's covering only, as a village is a big village. So 3.5 kilometer radius circle is not covering at all the borderlines. It's covering much area, and the highest point is also lying far away inside from the borderline, international borderlines. So it is not covering the borderlines. A constellation of camera management can cover the borderlines as well as the part of neighboring countries. Okay. Now we go to the next. So Thangalang, 176.251 square kilometer of area. The radius of circle, radius of 3.5 kilometer of the circle is covering mostly inside area. But one thing, as I said before, that area is highly undulated and wild topographic area. The last one in this lecture will be Khengawang. Khengawang is a village of 69.537 square kilometer of area. Khengawang is 69.537 square kilometer of area. And here also you can see average is 400, 400, 600, but there is 1200, and I think it's even we'll see that what is the highest control lines available here. So 1200 is definitely the highest ever we have seen in this zone. 1200 meters above, and we have created a white line at these 1200 control lines, I mean according to the ridge lines of the mountain, and then 400 1400 1400 is the highest control lines that we have seen so far. So it's really high, where we are seeing the as low as 200 and then high as high as 1400. So it's a total wild topography, really difficult for Indian security force or any other force, border security force, to traverse to these areas. So we have created the white line and to show you how the elevation is changing. Sorry, how the elevation is changing. So the highest point we have got it 1385 or 82, something like that, I mean whatever it is, 1385 on the white line. We are getting 1385 is the highest line. So we are putting a pin up there, 1382, and we'll create a circle of radius, and definitely it is the highest point so far. So from here we can cover most of that, and it is, as you can see, this highest point lies very close to international borderlines. I mean just alongside the international borderlines. So definitely a 3.5 kilometer radius will cover majority of neighboring country as well as inside territory as well as the borderline. So the point is really good for surveillance, and it can cover and you can see that from the highest point of this 1382 meter we have created a radius, we have created a circle of radius 3.5 kilometer, and this Khengawang is able to see almost 50% on the neighboring states as well as 50% inside, and can cover the border also, international border lines. So it's a good point for surveillance and for any watchtower. However, it is our purpose to see where as these valleys are really difficult terrain, difficult for security forces to patrol it regularly and to keep watch on international cross-border terrorism, cross-border smuggling, cross-border immigration. So to create watchtowers or to create surveillance camera installation point, what are the best points? That was our focus of discussion. So this is we have discussed so far for 8 such villages in the first phase. Those all 8 villages are facing the Myanmar side of Paletoa under Mindat under Chin. Next we will cover those villages which will be facing to another area of Myanmar, and their geography, their topography. Similarly, they will continue to discuss on. So I think you have enjoyed these lectures, and if you like my topic, please subscribe my channel, give me a like, and kindly circulate others on my link, so that more people can see it, and I deserve to get comments from you also, to get how I can better these presentations and the subject. I can do more research on the subject, and I can get encouraged. And again I say that if you like my channel, please subscribe it, give me a like, and relish it. Thank you. Have a nice day.